Alright, let's take a final look at this before we get it all back together. Wheel bearings, you want that drag on there like that. Don't put it all back together and then remember you forgot those. Alright, I'm happy with this stuff. Here's one of the bolts that holds in the knuckle wheel bearing assembly. 12 point. It's a 13 12 point. For an example, there's a 6 point. That'll fit on there, and I don't recommend trying to get this on and off with a 6 point. Torque on that 75. We're going to use our Craftsman little torque wrench, lock threaded in place, 3 on each side. 13mm 12 point. Get them all threaded, started, well on their way in before tightening them down. Make sure you don't forget this. That keeps crap from the road off your rotor that's going to be on here. The caliper itself keeps stuff out on this side. Don't forget this. You'll be taking this all apart again. Did I mention get them all started and run down a little bit before you tighten them? 75. $75. $75. $70. There's 75 on that one. $75. $75. All right, we'll put a little bit of thread lock on these. The nut that holds the axle to the wheel bearing hub is torqued to 175. Then it's held in place with cotter pins. We could reuse these. Let's get some new ones. Hammer lock pins, metric cotter pins. And here's cotter pins again. Let's just match this up. Somebody returned one. Get 2 of those. Jeep mixes metric and standard so much. Let's go look at the metrics. Hammer lock pins. You could use any of these that fit in there. Looks like the metric equivalent is 4mm by 40mm. We'll just buy both of them. This is the nut that goes on the axle, the threaded end of the axle. Inch and a quarter. Nope. .33mm. That must be for a different application. .36mm. This is a specialty tool that you're just going to have to buy if you're going to torque this right. 36. Alright. So on this application, they don't want you backing this up to find the hole. This is how your locking feature is going to work. And you can position this a bunch of different ways to line that cotter pin hole up with where the slots are in this. It's machined, you can see it. It has a correct way to thread in. And these washers are important. One time I put this whole thing together and didn't put the washer in there, and the threads bottomed out. I was wondering what the hell is going on here. So here's our cotter pins we bought. We bought just a regular old cotter pin, and then we bought some metric cotter pins. And for some reason these were more expensive than just cotter pin. You put metric in front of it and the price goes up. Imagine if we put the word aviation cotter pin. Probably be $100 each. So which one's which? Let me go ask somebody. Is that Jeep cotter pin a metric or a standard? Alright, the torque on this is 175. Our torque wrench that we're going to use doesn't even go that high. So we'll just get it past here and call it good. So I'm just putting this grease on here as a corrosion preventative. I don't think the application needs this, but I'm of the opinion stuff will probably need to come apart again someday. Don't forget this No, I'm wrong about the machining. It's just this side was the side down before. That's why that ends shiny like that. So don't be at this point and then remember that you left this dust guard off. I've done that before. The only thing I could do was cry while I took everything back apart. $175 inch-pounds. Forgot about that. There's 150. And that's where this torque meter runs out. We'll go to that little rivet. Call that good. I remember now what happened when I forgot this washer. Without the washer there and that little clearance that it's given, this locking feature didn't line up with the hole. So that nut ran down farther than it should, and the hole in these slots in this locking feature didn't line up. $175. Okay, we're gonna go to that rivet again. Ugh. 175. Check it one more time. At least as close as we can get with this. Double check. Glad I installed this dust guard. Thread protectors for that torque. You can jam a screwdriver in here where your U-joints are and really do some damage. Okay, that axle nut is torqued to somewhere in the vicinity of 175, and they don't want you backing this off now to line up the cotter pin hole. So there's this special feature somewhere on here that will line up correctly. And for the first time in my life, it lined up on the first try. Alright, that's the metric cotter pin. Here's our standard cotter pin. Interesting. That one doesn't fit in there. Well, I'm glad I bought both sizes. The person whose hand doesn't get cut with this cotter pin might be your hand. And that's cotter pin installation on your axle nut. Nobody's gonna get cut on that one.